So, what a weekend of college football it was as this season continues to provide awesome games. This weekend, we had blowouts, we had upsets, we had close games, and as we sit here on this Monday morning, we have another vacancy on the coaching carousel as Wisconsin has decided to part ways with Paul Chryst. But today, we don't need to talk about Wisconsin. We need to talk about another institution that the collective eyes of the college football world have been firmly placed upon since this offseason. And even Paul Finebaum this weekend talked about how Texas A&M's top boosters may be willing to pay Jimbo Fisher's inordinate buyout if things don't start turning around. Today, we need to give our reaction to this news, what I think needs to happen with Texas A&M and everything in between. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I have got to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Are you surprised by this news from Paul Finebaum, and do you agree that if things don't turn around, Texas A&M's boosters could be willing to pay Jimbo Fisher's massive buyout? I can't wait to hear from you. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and comment down below. But having said all that, let's jump right into this, and first and foremost, I'm going to pose the question I asked in the intro, which, do you think that if things don't turn around, the boosters would be willing to pay Jimbo Fisher's buyout fee? And right now, my answer is no. And I understand things aren't going well in Texas A&M right now, and Jimbo Fisher is in a really intriguing position, especially with Alabama in front of him. However, I can't see Texas A&M willing to pay that amount of money to move off of Jimbo Fisher right after they gave him an extension. And this really highlights something I talked about the last time we talked about Jimbo Fisher, that I didn't know what the standard of acceptability was in College Station. Because Jimbo Fisher has been providing results that are very much well analogous to Kevin Sumlin, but he's getting major raises and Kevin Sumlin doesn't have a job. So fast forward to this season, and when Texas A&M is struggling, and now there's this talk of the boosters may be willing to move and make a change and eat up this massive buyout fee, it really doesn't make sense to me. Because what we're seeing out of Texas A&M is a team that's struggling to find an identity, yes, but it's not like Jimbo Fisher has been a consistent 10-win team with Texas A&M. He's been around 8-4 to 9-3. So up to this point in the year, while we expected Texas A&M to have a bit more fire to them, to have a bit more life to them, I can't imagine a situation where they actually buy out Jimbo Fisher's contract and fire him for a few reasons. First and foremost, you just gave him a raise, and that is a lot of money to pay. Second, the question has to be asked, okay, if you do this, who are you going to go get? And that's where I really don't know who the answer would be, because right now, Texas A&M has kind of put all their eggs in the Jimbo Fisher basket, hoping that these recruiting classes he brings in are going to give them results. The problem is you may be tying yourself to him in the hopes that these recruiting classes work out for another 3 to 4 years, because that's how long it's going to take for some of these guys to develop. Now, what we need to understand here is, where does Texas A&M go from here? Because personally, as much as I do believe that the Texas A&M boosters and the powers that be in College Station are absolutely frustrated by what they're seeing on the field, and I don't blame them. A loss to App State was a huge loss, and then fast forward to Mississippi State, and for back-to-back years, you've dropped games to Mike Leach's Bulldogs, and it's not getting any better. Texas A&M isn't getting any closer to seeming like they have any sort of identity, and for Jimbo Fisher being an offensive-minded head coach, you would think that the offense would be the strength of this team. However, since Jimbo Fisher has gotten there, I can't think of one year where you've looked at that Texas A&M offense and thought, that's an offense I'm terrified of. You've looked at certain pieces in that offense, no doubt about it. You've looked at certain players they've had, and you thought, okay, we got to stop that guy. I've said this consistently. A-Chain is a dude that you have got to account for in every possible facet of the game. He's a game breaker. He's got that kind of ability. But the offense can't single-handedly run through A-Chain, and especially with Anaya Smith going down, they have got to find some semblance of an identity. But you would think with Jimbo being this offensive mind, that would come as no real issue. However, as we sit here and talk, Texas A&M's defense continues to be a strong suit, and really it's been the strong suit of the Aggies ever since Jimbo Fisher took the job, which is great. You want your defense to be good. But if you have an offensive-minded head coach, it would stand to reason that the offense would also be good. So as we sit here, and Texas A&M's defense ranks 57th in the nation, their offense ranks 105th in the nation. They don't really seem to have any sort of identity. And I understand for anybody sitting there saying, okay, well, they've had some quarterback issues, they have some young pieces, so this is an offense that's going to grow. I don't disagree with you. And I think you actually are right. There's a lot of new pieces in this offense that makes it to where they're going to have to take some time to figure out exactly who they are. The problem isn't a one-off, though. It's not like the problem has been simply relegated to this season. It's been an ongoing issue for years on years, and every year it seems like the same thing where they need to get acclimated. Well, now we're several years in, and things need to start changing. So where does A&M go from here? I don't think that the answer is firing Jimbo Fisher, because I think you've put way too many eggs in that basket already, especially with the way you're recruiting, and you want to try and continue recruiting that way. You could easily destabilize the recruiting class you just pulled in, which was historic, and the one you look to sign this year if you move away from Jimbo Fisher. Especially with the existence of the transfer portal, you got to navigate these coaching hires and the way you fire coaches a little bit differently now in this day and age. But the answer for Texas A&M may be all too easy. Hire an offensive coordinator, because at this point, you have nothing to lose if you're Jimbo Fisher, and in fact, that might be the best way to ensure that you have job security. What I do know is that it's not working, and I don't feel like you have to be a coach to watch what's happening on Saturday and say, that's not working, and it's super unfortunate, because that's a very talented team. They've got a lot of talented pieces. That's a ravenous fan base, and they expect better. And maybe Texas A&M wasn't going to go 12 wins this year, 11 wins this year, 10 wins this year. Sure, maybe not, because they had to replace a lot of pieces. But I think what we're seeing now is still shocking, and it does indicate that something needs to change in College Station. I don't think that they're going to be willing to buy out Jimbo's contract, because I think, as I've continued to say, they've put all their eggs in the Jimbo basket. Now I think the answer is hiring an offensive coordinator. But I really can't wait to hear from all of you. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.